Hey folks, Darren here, Mr. Sandsman. Welcome back to the channel. Some of these releases actually came out a couple of weeks ago and they were late deliveries to me. So I've been kind of waiting for them to arrive, to watch them, go through them a little bit, and then bring out this video, which I thought what I would do is include all three Arrow Friday the 13th 4K releases. So we started way back in September last year with this particular one, which is the Friday the 13th remake, and this particular version was only released in the US, so it didn't get a release in the UK. I guess there's some rights issue with maybe a 4K version being out at the moment in the UK. I'm not quite sure about that, why Arrow couldn't release it in the UK, but I managed to get hold of it anyway via importing it into the country. So here we go. There's the artwork, some really cool artwork that you see there. Sackhead Jason and Hockey Mask Jason. The rear of the box there details both the 4K theatrical cut that you get with the film and disc 2, which is the killer cut, which is slightly longer and more brutal in a lot of ways, and I would say is probably the better version of the two movies. They really do go to town on some of the kills in this particular version, but this is a movie that on release I wasn't that fond of. I remember going to the cinema to see it and coming out of there thinking it was a bit, you know, so what? I just didn't get it at all. I thought it was a little overblown. It just didn't do it for me. And Marcus Nispel, who directed the Texas Chainsaw remake in 2003, had actually directed this as well. And so I was a little bit disappointed given how good his Texas Chainsaw remake was. It currently has a 26% on Rotten Tomatoes, so not a critical darling whatsoever, and also an audience score of around about 46%. That kind of fluctuates now and again, so the fan base as well aren't too keen on this movie. But a weird thing happened. Frank and I did an episode on this over on TSL about 4 years ago, and we did it because our followers on that particular channel pretty much begged us to do it. We'd covered the whole franchise and we left the remake out. And they said, look at it again, you know, 10 years later, 11 years later, or whatever it was. Look at it again and you might find that you enjoy it. And you know what? I really did. I absolutely thought that this was quite a credible remake on second watch. I'll stick my neck out to say that aesthetically, this is the best looking Friday the 13th movie in the whole franchise. The camera work is fantastic, the lighting's fantastic on it. The only thing that lets this film down is its characters. And I'm not including Jason Voorhees in this. Derek Mears' turn as Jason Voorhees in this film is stunning, I think. I think he does a fantastic job. And I like the fact that we get all three Jasons in this film. We start off with young Jason in the kind of opening credits sequence, we go through to Sackhead Jason, and then we get Hockey Mask Jason in a really cool reveal, whereas he discovers the mask and puts it on and kind of glances at himself in a broken mirror. So each time that I watch this, I gain a little bit more respect for it. I think it is a really well-made movie, and probably was certainly overlooked when it was first released. Definitely in terms of the fan base. It had a huge opening weekend at the box office in the US as well and came out at around about $40 million, but it fell off a cliff the next weekend, and so its total cum was around about 65 million and 91 million worldwide. So it did take a lot of money considering the production budget was only about $19 million. So I'm disappointed that we never actually saw a sequel to this particular entry in the franchise. I think it would have been really cool to get Derek Mears back as Jason and explore that character a little bit more. So what do we get on this? So we have a DTS HD Master 5.1 soundtrack. It's Dolby Vision and HDR10. 2 discs, as I said before, the theatrical cut at 97 minutes and the killer cut at 105 minutes. Now you have an audio commentary from director Marcus Nispel, a new audio commentary with writers Mark Swift and Damian Shannon, new interviews with director, writers and cinematography Daniel Pearl, a featurette, A Killer New Beginning, archival extras, terror trivia track, rebirth of Jason, hacking back, slashing forward, the 7 best kills, deleted and extended scenes, promotional materials, teasers, trailers, TV spots, electronic press kits, all that kind of stuff. Plus you also get this great slipcase with the reversible artwork as well. There's the slipcase, there's the spine, and then the actual 4K itself. I'll show you the reversible artwork. you get that artwork there, which was the original poster art. Okay, inside we get some lobby cards, greetings from Crystal Lake, a poster as well. I can just open this up. It's reversible, so you get the original art on one side and then the new artwork, which I think is really cool, on the other side. And then a booklet with the usual essays and details, stuff you're probably never going to read, but nice to have. There we go. So there you go, Friday the 13th, 2009, the remake directed by Marcus Nispel. As I said, I think aesthetically the best looking Friday the 13th movie in the franchise, and definitely worth a rewatch, folks, if you haven't seen this since it first came out. Then next up, released on May 20 this year, is Jason Goes to Hell, the final Friday. Now, obviously, this was a title that was in rights limbo for a long time, so they couldn't actually use the Friday the 13th original title. They had to call it Jason Goes to Hell and tagline it with the final Friday. So most fans knew exactly what it was. I saw this on VHS. I'm not sure. I'm pretty certain it didn't get a theatrical release in the UK. So I remember watching it with a buddy of mine on VHS, and I remember we watched it. We didn't really know much about it because obviously this was pre-internet. And we were disappointed because Jason ultimately dies within the first 10 minutes of this movie in a scene where a SWAT team surround him and then shoot at him all at once and fail to take each other out in the process. But I think it really kind of jarred with us as Friday the 13th fans when we first saw it. And so the kind of idea of this spirit of Jason being passed around into other people's bodies and those characters then taking on the mantle of the killer in the film was kind of odd and strangely reminiscent of a movie from 1987 called The Hidden, the Carl McLachlan movie, which I actually really like and I think is a better movie than this. But you know, over the years, again, I've revisited this and with my expectations in check, and there are some really cool moments in it. I do appreciate it for what they were trying to do, for what Adam Marcus was trying to do as a director, you know, do something completely different, shake up the franchise. But I think it was too much of a shake up at the time. You know, bearing in mind, this is only sort of 11 years after we first got Jason in his full hockey mask glory. To have him taken away from us and replaced by various non-specific characters wandering around carrying out his killings was odd and alien back in 1993. But watching it now, I'm older with a different set of eyes. I don't mind it. I think it's okay. I think it has some really fun moments. It's probably middling to lower end of the franchise for me in terms of where I would rank it, but I don't think it's as bad as what I did back in 1993. And there are some really cool violent kills in this, particularly in the director's cut that you get on this. So let's have a look at the artwork. Again, keeping in the theme of Friday the 13th remake, these beautiful slip covers with this newly commissioned artwork. There's the spine, and there's the back cover. So this movie had a 16% on Rotten Tomatoes with the critics. So obviously the critics absolutely hated it. Audience score is 24%. So the fan base largely aren't too keen on this film either. Opening weekend in the US was 7.5 million, and then it had a lifetime of around about 15.9 million, which on a budget of 3 million was okay. It did well for the franchise at the time. It wasn't a disaster, and I'm sure over the years it's gone back to make its money tenfold with all the different licensing and VHSs, DVDs, Blu-rays, and now 4Ks that have been presented to us over the years. So good to see on the reverse of the sleeve you get the Jason Goes to Hell original artwork. So we get a Dolby Vision and HDR10 4K presentation of this film, a DTS HD Master Audio 5.1 and stereo soundtrack. 2 discs, the theatrical cut at 88 minutes and the unrated cut at 91 minutes. A new audio commentary with film historians Michael Flesher, Steve Uncle Creepy Barton, archival commentaries with director Adam Marcus and collaborators, new interviews with special makeup effects creator Robert Kurtzman, actor Julie Michaels, who's from Roadhouse, who plays the FBI agent in the opening sequence, archival interviews with directors and cast, collectible packaging, reversible sleeve booklet with essays, all that kind of good stuff. So they have pretty much packed it with as much stuff as they could do. It's a good package. I watched it yesterday and it looks great. It does. It's I would say second to Friday the 13th, the 2009 remake. Not sure we're gaining much by putting this in HDR10 Dolby Vision. I think the Blu-ray version is probably sufficient if you're a fan of this film. But it's a nice little package to have, and Arrow have, as usual, given it their all with these presentations. I know Adam Marcus is doing the rounds with his documentary at the moment. It would have been nice to have seen that documentary on this particular Blu-ray, but I'm sure he wants to get out there, push it around the festivals, and make as much money as he can on it before he sells it to a boutique label, which I'm sure eventually we'll see that particular documentary end up on a future version of Jason Goes to Hell. I think that probably goes without saying. It's happened before with An American Werewolf in London, with Jaws, those kind of movies. So I think in the future we'll probably see. I think it's called Hearts of Darkness. Yeah, we'll have that soon enough, I think. So that's it. Jason Goes to Hell, Arrow's 4K release of the final Friday. And that just leaves us with Jason X. Yeah, I watched this yesterday. It had a very limited theatrical run in the UK, took next to no money whatsoever, and I think I saw it for the first time on maybe an imported DVD or something like that, because it seemed to sit on the shelf for a year or so before this was released. I wasn't really impressed from the first time that I saw it. I think it felt like a very low budget movie back in 2001. And I have to say, watching it yesterday, the 4K HDR Dolby Vision treatment does it no favors whatsoever. I mean, there are some god-awful moments in this film where the special effects really don't hold up, and I don't think they're helped at all by being placed in a 4K resolution. The movie it just feels so cheap throughout. It really does. The performances are pretty terrible. Even Kane Hodder in this film feels like he's on a bit of an off day. There's some really, really poor moments in this, particularly with the virtual reality game that they're playing. It just doesn't look right on screen whatsoever. A lot of people say this is a guilty pleasure. I know my co-host over on The Slaughtered Lamb, Frank Riker, this is one of his favorites. He really does dig this film. I think it's probably one of the weaker entries in the series, for sure. And whilst it's nice to have this 4K, it does it no favors whatsoever. I think I would have been perfectly happy with the Blu-ray that came in the box set, which I have on my shelf down there. Now, I watched this and then compared it to the Blu-ray version, and I have to say the Blu-ray version looks better. I think there's something about this where it accentuates the flaws in the visual effects, but also it's a softer look throughout. It's like the Dolby Vision and HDR10 has really done nothing to improve the picture quality. In fact, it just goes against it, in my opinion. But, you know, others may feel differently, but that's the way I saw it yesterday when I watched it. Obviously, I like this enough to have it in my collection, because I'd eventually like to get all of the Friday the 13th films in my collection as 4K versions. But this is slipping down the rankings for me as to maybe being one of the worst in the franchise. I actually prefer Jason Goes to Hell over this film. So let's have a look at it closer up. The artwork, the cover art is really cool. I really do like that. There's the spine. And there is all the details. You just get the one disc in this one, whereas the other two versions have had two discs. It's just the one 4K version. No Blu-ray. Exactly the same as the other versions, the Friday the 13th, 2009, and Jason Goes to Hell. There's no Blu-ray versions. This film has a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 25% with the audience as well. So another very low scoring Friday the 13th entry according to the fans of the franchise. The opening weekend was 6.5 million in the US and went on to take about 13.1 million at the US box office. Worldwide gross is around about 16.9 million, so didn't really do much outside of America whatsoever. Production budget was estimated to be around 11 to 14 million. I find that very hard to believe. This looks like a movie that's been made for around about 5 to 10 million. I can't see this costing 14 million. But we'll go by what IMDb and Wikipedia tell us in this instance, so 11 to 14 million budget. So I can't think for 1 minute that this movie made a profit, given it only took 16.95 million at the global box office. There's the sleeve. It is reversible, so you get the original artwork there. Little booklet inside as well, with all sorts of stills and the usual essays, again, that no one will read. Cast and crew, pictures of Jason. You also get the poster with it as well. So that one there, which is the original art, and the reverse of that, which is the newly commissioned stuff. So nice that Arrow have thrown that in there as well. So what's on the disc? Well, if I move that up there, you can see that we have the usual Dolby Vision and HDR10 in its original 1:8:5 aspect ratio, DTS Master Audio 5.1 and 2 stereo, 93 minutes. Introduction to the film by actor Kane Hodder, which I watched yesterday, is actually quite fun. New audio commentary with film historians Michael Felsher and Steve Uncle Creepy Barton. Archival commentary with Todd Farmer, author Peter Brack. Archival audio commentary with director Jim Isaacs, writer Todd Farmer, and producer Noel Cunningham. Featurettes, Scoring the Stars, Outer Space, The Making of Jason X, In Space No One Can Hear You Scream, Christie is a Headbanger, Jason Rebooted, The Many Lives of Jason Voorhees, By Any Means Necessary, The Making of Jason X. Cast and crew interviews, behind the scenes footage, electronic press kit, theatrical trailers and TV spots, and then a load of stills behind the scenes and poster galleries. So lots for you to get your teeth into here. I think the bulk of this was presented to us before on the Friday the 13th box set Blu-ray version of Jason X, but it's nice that they've added in a new audio commentary if you're interested in taking a look at that. So that's it, folks. Those are the three. All look really smart with these covers. A shame that the UK cover is spoilt by the ratings logo on them. But yeah, let's hope they get the rights to some more of these movies. I'm guessing they're going to do Freddy versus Jason at some stage. Not a massive fan of that film, but it would be good for Warner Brothers to complete those new line versions of Friday the 13th, if they can. Which one is the best out of the three? I think certainly the remake. It looks the best, it sounds the best, and you get those two different cuts of the film, along with Jason Goes to Hell as well. So yeah, definitely my recommendation out of the three. And if you aren't a fan of this movie, maybe give it another chance. You might see something this time around that makes you think, actually, this movie's not that bad. It's okay. It's a decent remake. I think that it's better in terms of a remake than Rob Zombie's Halloween is, which, you know, came out around the same time as this. So yeah, this gets my vote. Folks, thanks for watching. Which one of the recent Arrow Friday the 13th releases is your favourite? Do you own them all? Do you disagree with anything I've said there? I think Arrow's done a good job on these, and apart from the Jason X picture, which I really don't think benefits from being in 4K at all, they've put together some really nice packages. That's it, folks. That's all I've got time for now. I'll be back very soon with another video. And again, thank you for all the support that you guys have shown this channel. It's starting to grow and I really appreciate that. If you haven't liked this video, the button's down there somewhere. And if you're not yet subscribed, then maybe consider it. I'd really appreciate that. Okay, guys, thanks very much. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.